All right, welcome everybody again to Practicing the Pause with Phil. I am Philip Boyce. I am a peer support specialist at the R3 Recovery Center here in Wilkesboro, and we're just going to give it just a minute. I know I'm kind of early here, looking at the time, so we'll let folks as they're hopefully scrolling through Facebook, will tune in and join us. So welcome again, everyone, to Practicing the Pause with Phil. Like I said, I am Philip Boyce. I'm the R3. I work at the R3 Recovery Center here in Wilkesboro, and I'm going to pull up my share screen now as folks are uh, tuning in and joining us. There we go. All right. So I hope everybody is having a good Wellness Wednesday, and you're looking forward to practicing the pause. I know I need to. I always enjoy this time where I can kind of settle down and center myself and regain clarity and focus and kind of leave some of that stress behind, some of that worries and troubles, and just be here right now in the present. And I thank you all for tuning in and looking at your own self care. And perhaps you're wondering about what wellness is and how it can make a difference in your life. We'll talk about some of those things today as we move forward. But right now, I just want to invite everybody to find a good, quiet place where you can kind of settle down. You can clear your mind. You can turn off distractions and just be here in the present moment. That's what we do here with practicing the pause. Uh, as we begin by quieting ourselves and finding a nice quiet place where we can go to and unwind and just center ourselves and refocus. It's good to do. And by doing that, we learn what mindfulness is. I talked a little bit about it last week, and I want to again go over what mindfulness is. Maybe you've heard mindfulness, and maybe you're familiar with the term, but not really sure about what mindfulness means. Excuse me. I like to drink tea while I do this. I found some tea that really helps with whether it be stress or anxiety, and that's something I've learned too as I've done some research into wellness. But uh, when talking about mindfulness, we've you might have heard the term mindfulness, but you might not just really been familiar with what mindfulness means. Well, mindfulness is uh, the basic human ability to be fully present. And that's what we do here now with the pause. We want to be fully present. We don't want our minds to be, necessarily thinking about the past or projecting into the future about what things need to be done. Right now, we just want to be here and in the now. And that's really what mindfulness is. It's this basic human ability to be fully present. And so, as I drink this tea, I can be mindful that I'm drinking my tea. I can be mindful that I'm taking the sip out of the cup. I can be mindful when the tea is, going down my throat there, and be mindful of what I'm doing just with that one activity. You know, drinking tea has been a practice that's been going on for centuries, and other cultures are really aware of that. With here in America and the Western society, we want instant gratification. We want things done here and now, but we don't really experience the now. Sometimes we, for lunch, for instance, we just gulp down our food. We don't take the time to really, experience what we're doing in the here and now. We're in such a rush and a go and a go and go, fast-paced society. It's kind of what we've become, and so we have to have these reminders of practicing the pause and mindfulness. So here, maybe you've got something in front of you and you want to try this exercise of mindfulness. I like warm tea because that really helps me. Even with pouring the tea, I've got the teapot there. I can be mindful of when I'm pouring the tea. I can be mindful of, the cup that I use. I can be mindful of when I take the sip. And so tea, I believe, is a really good uh, uh, a way to practice mindfulness. And so, I can take my tea. Like I said, you might have something in front of you that you want to practice right now. Practice mindfulness. Practice being in the here and now. Practice being mindful of a certain activity. And like I said, I believe tea is a good way to do that. I've even got a candle here that's next to me. You can be mindful of lighting the candle. You can be mindful if the candle has an aroma of what the smell is like. Just using all your senses there to be mindful in the present. And so, like I said, I like my tea, which helps me to practice mindfulness. You just center yourself and really be a part of that experience. Mindfulness. It's the human ability to be fully present, aware of where we are and what we're doing. And so, um, a lot of times I'll invite the audience, the listeners here, to be aware of what the body is doing. Be aware of your posture. Be aware of where we are or our environment, creating that uh, peaceful environment. Freeing yourself from distractions, turning off any noises, things that might distract. So you'll be mindful, fully present, aware of where we are and what we're doing. What we're doing. So we really want to be engaged in this. We want to be fully present and aware of where we are and what we're doing, and not overly reactive or overwhelmed by what's going on around us. So, every once in a while, when we're in meditation, you might hear a bang or a noise or something that happens outside. And so we don't want to be overly reactive to those sounds or overwhelmed by it. We want to continue to practice that mindfulness and be present where we are. And the breathing technique that we use helps us to do that, which we'll get into here in just a little while. And so mindfulness is it's not about being all up in your head. You can practice mindfulness by sitting down for a formal meditation practice. And like I said, we'll have one here in just a few minutes. And so it's not about being all in your head, but it's about a practice. You can practice mindfulness just by sitting down with, let's say, this formal meditation practice that we do, or even by being more intentional and aware of the things you do each day. So maybe it's doing chores around the house. Don't have your mind necessarily thinking about other things, but be present there in the moment. Be aware of what you're doing, intentional and aware of the things you do each day. Some people find that whether it's cleaning the house is therapeutic, or maybe it's working outside in the yard is therapeutic. As long as your mind is engaged and aware right there in the then and now of what you're doing, what you're partaking in, as long as you're being intentional and aware of the things you do each day, you're practicing mindfulness. And nearly every task we perform in a day, whether it be brushing our teeth or eating lunch or talking with friends or exercising, can be done more mindfully. And so when we are mindful of our actions, we pay more attention to what we are doing. It's the opposite of just going through the motions. And, uh, uh, I'm guilty of doing that. I think a lot of folks are just going through the motions, not really aware of what you're doing in the then and the here and now. And so mindfulness is really being mindful of our actions and paying more attention to what we're doing. It's the opposite of just going through the motions. Instead, you're tuned into your senses. You're noticing your thoughts and emotions. And so by building mindfulness into your daily life, you can practice mindfulness even when you're too busy to meditate. And so, as we begin learning how to meditate, which is one thing that we like to do here in the beginning, as we learn to meditate, if you're just beginning a meditation exercise, it might be helpful to set an amount of time. You can set a timer or your stopwatch, or even have something on your phone, which will allow you to set the amount of time you want to begin practicing for. And that helps because sometimes if you don't know exactly how much time you're going to be practicing for, sometimes your mind will obsess about deciding when to stop. And so if you're just beginning this mindfulness exercise, it might be good if you choose a short time. It could be 5, it could be 10, it could be maybe 15 minutes, short time. And, eventually, as you begin practicing, and that's part of what we do here is practicing the pause, eventually you'll be able to build up to twice as long. I used to remember hearing folks saying that they would meditate for 30, 45 minutes, some even to an hour. And I thought, wow, how in the world could someone possibly meditate for that long? But it can be done with practice. But if you're just beginning, it might be good just to set a short amount of time, like a stopwatch, something that you can set. And, eventually you'll be able to build up to twice as long, maybe even to 45 minutes or to an hour. And so you could use a kitchen timer or a timer on your phone. Many people do a session in the morning and in the evening. I think that's a good way to open your day and even shut your day down. Sometimes we can have difficulty just unwinding there at the end of the day. And if you have trouble sleeping, maybe try meditation there at the end. Maybe just calm your body. Try this meditation exercise. And what's good too is, all these are recorded on YouTube. So maybe you can listen to my voice. Maybe you can do this meditation there at the end of your day, and it might help you to sleep. You might want to give that a try. And so, a lot of folks will do a session in the morning and there in the evening, or one or the other. It's really what best suits you. Where you're at in life and what you feel comfortable with. If you feel your life is busy and you have little time, doing some is better than none. Doing some is better than doing none. And so when you get a little space and time, you can do a little bit more. I've done it in the car, tried meditating in the car. I've done it walking through the woods, so you can do these exercises, really anywhere. I do find that, finding a quiet place free from distraction really helps. And so, I invite you now, if you haven't already done so, to find a good spot there in your home. Hopefully, you have some time here and now. And like I said, these are recorded. So if you don't necessarily have the time to take right now, please, uh, check it out on YouTube and make sure that you come back when you have a little more free time. But I hope that you have some time now because it's good to be able to practice the pause together. And I think this is a good time, right here in the middle of the day, middle of the week, to be able to do this. So I invite you, if you have the time, to find a good spot, whether it be in your home or elsewhere, ideally where there isn't too much clutter. I think it's good to have a nice, clear space, around us. Make sure that you can find a good spot there, ideally where there's not too much clutter and you can find some quiet. Go ahead and turn off any distractions, maybe it be a phone or TV, whatever that might be a distraction for you. And leave the lights on. That's what I talked about last time. Sometimes when you get into this meditative state, your body relaxes and it's easy to fall asleep. So leave your lights on, and you can even use natural light. So it might be a place on your porch outside that you might want to begin practicing meditation. You can sit outside if you like, but choose a place with little distraction. And it's good too to be mindful of your posture. That's a posture practice. Getting into the right, seating position where you're nice and you feel relaxed, and you can be mindful of your posture. And you begin doing that at the beginning stage of meditation. You begin being aware of your posture. You simply can do that just for a minute, maybe to stabilize yourself and find a moment of relaxation before going into the meditation. And so, if you have maybe some injuries or other physical difficulties, you can modify this practice to suit your situation. So, it might be using a pillow, maybe to support your back, whatever that might help with your injuries, maybe propping up your legs, whatever it might be that's going to really help you with some of those injuries or other physical difficulties that you might have. All right, so to begin practicing this mindfulness meditation. Hopefully you're already seated somewhere. If not, take a seat, and whatever you're sitting on, might be a chair or a meditation cushion. Maybe you're outside and you're using a park bench. Just find a spot that gives you a stable, solid seat, not perching or hanging back. And then I invite you to notice what your legs are doing. If you're on a cushion on the floor, you can cross your legs comfortably in front of you. If you're already doing some kind of seated yoga posture, just go on ahead and do that. That works for you. If you're on a chair, it's good if the bottoms of your feet are touching the floor. That kind of brings that grounding, that stability. That's good for mindfulness meditation. So be aware of what your legs are doing. Be aware of how you're seated, and like I said, if you're in a chair, make sure that your feet touching the floor. It can be good grounding. They're a good grounding exercise. And so again, be aware of your posture. You want to straighten. You want to have a nice, a straight. Sit up straight, but don't stiffen your upper body. You don't want to be too tight. A lot of times I'll invite the listeners there to go ahead and you might feel some tension that you might been carrying, stress. You might feel it in your shoulders and your neck. And it's okay just to go ahead and loosen up. Not nothing too fast. Might want to go ahead and do some circle motions, one to the left and then going to the right. You can also do that with your shoulders. You might want to slow circles there with your shoulders forward and backwards. And so you want to have a nice straight posture, but you don't want to be stiffened. You don't want to stiffen up your upper body. The spine has a natural curvature to it, and so let it be there. Let it have its natural curvature. Your head and your shoulders can comfortably rest on the top of your vertebrae. That's why I said it's so good just to kind of loosen up before we begin. Kind of let go of some of that tension that might be in your body that you might have been carrying around your neck and your shoulders. And so situate your upper arms parallel to your upper body. And then with your hands, you just want to let them kind of fall to your side. Just let your hands drop onto the tops of your legs. With your arms at your sides, your hands will land in the right spot. They'll automatically kind of do what they're going to do. You don't want your hands really to be too far forward, for that will make you hunch, and you don't want them too far back because that might make you stiff. So you really just want to tune into the strings of your body. You don't want them too tight or not too loose. And then with your chin, you just want to drop your chin just a little bit and let your gaze fall gently downward. So just nice relaxing posture there. Your neck's relaxed and your shoulders relaxed, your hands by your side. You just really want to let your chin just drop just a little and your gaze kind of downward there. And you can even let your eyelids lower if you want to. If you feel the need, you may even lower them completely. But it's not necessary to close your eyes when meditating. A lot of folks do. You can simply just let what appears before your eyes to be there without focusing on it. And so just be there for a few moments. Notice what your posture is like. Notice how you feel. Hopefully you feel grounded there, and hopefully you feel nice and relaxed. And we want to begin this exercise, this meditation exercise. It's a breathing exercise, mindfulness meditation. We want to be mindful of our breath. So I invite you now to bring attention to your breath, the sensations in your body. I want you to feel your breath. Take a nice, steady in breath with me now. Inhale through the nose, hold it for a minute, and then release. And you might really feel some of that stress that you've been carrying. Just release that there with the out breath. Again, take an in breath. Be mindful of the breath. You're breathing in. Nice, steady, slow in breath. And then release it there with the out breath. Letting go of any problems or worries or tension or stress that you might have been carrying around. let go of some of those to-dos, some of those deadlines, some of those things that you feel just weighing on you. Just go ahead and let those go for now. Right now, we're doing the best we can. It's time that we have here. We're centering ourselves, we're grounding ourselves, we're practicing mindfulness meditation, we're practicing wellness and self care. So, again, breathe in, be mindful of the breath. Good, slow, steady in breath. Then go ahead and release that there with the out breath. Really feel your breath. Some say even to follow your breath. So you're experiencing this breath in and out. I've said before, think of the ocean. You've been to the ocean with the waves going in and the waves going out. See it as the breath, doing the same thing. You might want to, be able to hear the ocean there in your breathing. Really feel the breath as it goes out and as it goes in. Some versions of this practice put more emphasis on the out breath. And for the in breath, you simply leave a spacious pause. Either way, draw your attention to the physical sensation of breathing, the air moving through your nose or mouth, the rising and falling of your belly or your chest. And so choose a focal point. And with each breath, you can mentally note breathing in and breathing out. Again, with in breath, nice, steady, slow in breath, and then release there on the out breath. We're practicing mindfulness meditation, mindful, aware of our breath, being here and in the now. Inevitably, your attention will leave the breath and wander to other places. The mind is full of energy. It's always at play. It always kind of wants to go and attach it to other things. It's okay. That's what the mind does. Just simply be aware of that mind's doing and then bring yourself back to your breath, being mindful and aware of this exercise of your breath, breathing in and breathing out. Don't worry if your mind begins to wander. There's no need to block or eliminate thinking. Some folks believe that, are under the impression that meditation is about just not thinking. That's just not true. The mind's always at play. And so if you see your thoughts begin to wander, just see them as dead leaves going down a stream. You're just merely a bystander. You're just watching them go on by. Don't attach to them. Just uh, bring your mind back, bring yourself back to your breath. Don't worry if the mind begins to wander. There's no need to block or eliminate thinking. When you get around to noticing your mind wandering, in a few seconds, a minute, 5 minutes, just gently return your attention to the breath. Breathe in, breathe out. Sometimes when you're in meditation, you might feel a scratch or you might want to move because something's uncomfortable. I invite you, when those things happen, just practice pausing. Practice pausing before making any physical adjustments, such as moving your body or scratching an itch. With intention, shift at a moment you choose, allowing space between what you experience and what you choose to do. And you may even find your mind wandering constantly. That's why this is a practice. The more you practice it, I believe, the better off you're going to get. And so, at the beginning stages, you might find that your mind is wandering constantly. Maybe you've even been practicing for a little while and you still find that your mind wanders constantly. That's normal. That's normal too. But instead of wrestling with or engaging with those thoughts as much, practice observing without needing to react. Just sit and pay attention. As hard as it is to maintain, that's all there is. Come back over and over again without judgment or expectation. So just return to your breath. When you find your mind wandering, just come back and be aware of your breath. In breath, An out breath. That's mindfulness meditation there. When you're ready, gently lift your gaze. If your eyes are closed, open them. Take a moment and notice any sounds in the environment. Notice how your body feels right now. Notice your thoughts and emotions. Practicing the pause, pause for a moment. Decide how you'd like to continue on with your day. And that's it. That's the practice. It's often been said that it's very simple, but it's not necessarily easy. The work is to just keep doing it, continue to practice, and results will accrue. And I hope that has helped you so far. It always helps me. It always makes my day a lot better. Today we're going to continue to be looking at wellness. If you've seen that before, I always call it SAMHSA, but it's SAMHSA. It's the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. And they've got this vision that they want for the community. And this is what we try to bring here to our attention in our community here in Wilkes and maybe other places who might be tuning in. Is SAMHSA's Wellness Initiative, which envisions a future in which people with mental or substance use problems pursue health, happiness, recovery, and a full and satisfying life in the community. And so here with Practicing the Pause, we learn more about wellness and what that looks like in our life. There's me as I go out into the woods and I practice some of my own personal wellness during the week. We all have our unique needs, and each individual path will be different. So yours might look a little bit different from mine, but I hope by us examining these things, by looking at wellness, that you begin to find out what wellness really looks like for you. We look at this 8 dimensions of wellness. It's emotional, intellectual, occupational, social, financial, physical, spiritual, and environmental. And that's the 8 dimensions of wellness. And these are on a wheel. So they're all interdependent. They're all interconnected. One example I like to use is that when I go out into the woods, that could be physical wellness because I'm getting exercise. But also when I get out into the woods, it helps with my emotions. I feel a lot better about myself. I'm thinking a lot better, so that's intellectual. It helps me with other relationships, so I might not be as moody or as on edge, and so it helps there with social. Uh, and all these really are interconnected. When I go out to the woods, I feel like I can be more in tune with spiritual, and I'm being connected to environment. So you see how all these can be interconnected. They're all interdependent. Every aspect of wellness can affect a person's life. And so if one is really out of balance, it's going to have an effect, like a ripple effect on some of these other ones. And so this is what we look at here. We get more familiar with what these dimensions are, and we look at how our own wellness looks. And that's the goal, really, is working towards all of these in one way or another is a great goal because wellness relates directly to the quality of a person's life. And that's really what we want to do. We want to boost the quality of our life. And this will depend on how much time we put towards it. We can go at our own pace. So, you might see that, your physical wellness is really suffering. It might be because of a diet or lack of exercise, whatever it is. And so, you really want to go at your own pace and your own time and with your own abilities. This is tailor made for you. And so, just making an effort by looking at each of these dimensions, whether it might be physical. And so, instead of going, straight to a gym or buying all this exercise equipment, might just be going for a walk. So, yes, today I'm going to look at my physical wellness. I'm going to go for a walk. And maybe it's even social, right? So, instead of going for a walk by yourself, you might want to invite a friend. All these can be are interconnected. All these are are interdependent. And so it really is. It's tailor made for you. How do you look at your own wellness and what do you want to do about it to boost your quality of life? What is wellness? Well, if you're not familiar with it, wellness, broadly defined, is being healthy in many dimensions of our lives. It's how we live our lives and the joy and fulfillment and health we experience. And so, we've been looking at each of these dimensions, and I've been bringing it to our attention about an evaluation as assessment that we do at the end here. And if you haven't seen some of these videos, I recommend that you go back and look back to them as we begin to uncover more and more about what wellness is. And so I like doing these wellness self-assessment tools. It really brings to light what some of these dimensions are and what they entail. We've looked at emotional wellness before. We did that a couple weeks ago, along with environmental wellness. We looked at that, and each time we look at these assessments, we kind of grade ourselves on a scale of seeing where we are with these. One might be higher than the other, which we might want to look at. Okay, well, for example, how can I increase my environmental wellness or my intellectual wellness? We've looked at that in the past. And so, like I said, if you haven't done this before, you can go back and find these on YouTube and begin grading yourself, kind of see where you fall in each one of these dimensions, how well you're doing with, let's say, intellectual wellness or physical wellness or emotional wellness. And so we looked at this one last week, occupational wellness. And so this week, I want to look at physical wellness. And so I hope that you have a piece of paper that's close to you, that's nearby. You can get a piece of paper and a pen and paper, a pen and pencil, and write these down. Go ahead and if you get a piece of paper, you can write this down. There's 7 questions that I ask that will give us a better understanding about what each one of these dimensions are and how they look in our lives. So I hope that you have that piece of paper ready, and you go ahead and number that piece of paper 1 to 7. 1 through 7. What is physical wellness? It's making choices to avoid harmful. Let me move this down some here. Making choices to avoid harmful habits and practice behaviors that support your physical body, health, and safety. Again, physical wellness is making choices to avoid harmful habits and practice behaviors that support your physical body, health, and safety. And so the first question, question number 1, is this: do you engage in physical exercise regularly? And by regularly, they mean 30 minutes at least 5 times a week or 10,000 steps a day. Now, I've got something on my phone that you might have. It's this health app. It's got a heart on there that I use a lot, called Health. And it gives me a summary of the steps I take each day. And so, now with technology, we can really find out how well we're doing, especially in this regards to physical wellness. And so the question number 1 is, do you engage in physical exercise regularly? And by regularly, they mean 30 minutes at least 5 times a week or 10,000 steps a day. Next to question number 1, you might put down a 1, never. You hardly ever move or getting out, getting exercise. 2, rarely. Rarely you do it. Maybe a few times a year. 3, sometimes. Maybe you're doing it, maybe not every week, but you're doing it, maybe 1 week out of the month. Or usually, maybe you're doing it 2, 3, 4 times out the month. Do you engage in physical exercise regularly, which is 30 minutes at least 5 times a week or 10,000 steps a day? How are you doing with question number 1 for your physical wellness? Are you getting physical exercise regularly? Go ahead and put down a number there. Nobody's looking over your back. Only you know how you're doing with these. All right, question number 2. Question number 2. I get 6 to 8 hours of sleep each night. How's your sleeping going? How's your sleeping habits? Are you getting enough sleep? Do you get 6 to 8 hours of sleep each night? Go ahead and put a number down next to question number 2. 1, never. 2, rarely. 3, sometimes. 4, usually. 1, never. 2, rarely. 3, sometimes. 4, usually. Are you getting 6 to 8 hours of sleep each night? All right, question number 3. I protect myself and others from getting ill. Wow, we really have to do that, especially this past year and where we're at now. We still have to do these things, right? Do you protect yourself and others from getting ill? Are you washing your hands? Are you covering your mouth when you cough? What are you doing to protect yourself and others from getting ill? How are you dealing with that? Are you mindful of that? Speaking of mindfulness, right? When you go to the bathroom and washing your hands, what do they say? It's to do the happy birthday, right? When you're washing your hands. How are you doing with protecting yourself and others from getting ill? It's part of our physical wellness. 1, never. 2, rarely. 3, sometimes. 4, usually. All right. Question number 4. I abstain from drinking alcohol, or if I do drink, I aim to keep my BAC at less than 0.06. Each one of us has our different struggles. I realize that some practice abstinence. Like myself, I am in that group where I I overdid it, and now I can't have any. So I abstain from alcohol. But maybe that's not even really your thing. Maybe you don't have a problem with that. We know that there's different journeys, different paths, all that. But physical wellness does see that there can be harm if you drink too much. So here it says, for physical wellness, do you abstain from drinking alcohol, or if you do drink, do you aim to keep your BAC at less than 0.06? 1, never. 2, rarely. 3, sometimes. 4, usually. Do you abstain from drinking alcohol, or if you do drink, do you aim to keep your BAC at less than 0.06? Put a number now next to question number 4. 1, never. 2, rarely. 3, sometimes. 4, usually. Question number 5. I avoid using tobacco products or other drugs. I avoid using tobacco products or other drugs. Put a number next to that. 1, never. 2, rarely. 3, sometimes. 4, usually. Maybe you are a smoker. Maybe you're mindful of that, of how much you're smoking, right? And you know that, hey, or using other tobacco products, right? It's not just cigarettes. There's other tobacco products too. So maybe you're mindful of using these products, and maybe you're making a conscientious effort to curb it, to cut back some. And like I said, this is on your own pace. This is at your own time, with your own ability. So this is tailor made for you. But we just want to be mindful of this. And so I believe by looking at these things, it can help us to do that. And so, do you avoid using tobacco products or other drugs? 1, never. 2, rarely. 3, sometimes. 4, usually. All right, question number 6. I eat a balanced diet. I eat a balanced diet. By balanced diet, that can be a mixture of fruits and vegetables, of low, moderate fat, of whole grains. Do you eat a balanced diet? How well are you at doing that? Are you constantly in a rush? Kind of whatever fast food place you see as you're driving back home or wherever the case may be? Is that kind of how you're getting your meals, and how are you doing with that? Eating a balanced diet, mixture of fruits, vegetables, low moderate fat, whole grains. One, never. Two, rarely. Three, sometimes. Four, usually. So we want to be mindful of these things about our physical wellness. How are you doing with a balanced diet? One, never. Two, rarely. Three, sometimes. Four, usually. All right, last question, and we'll move on. Do you get regular physical exams? Regularly means annual, or when you have atypical symptoms. Do you get regular physical exams? One, never. Two, rarely. Three, sometimes. Four, usually. One, never. Two, rarely. Three, sometimes. Four, usually. All right, you got 7 questions there. You've got a number next to those. Go ahead and add those up. Perfect score being 28. Go ahead and see. This isn't, like I said, this isn't about getting an A. You're not going to get graded. You're not going to get gold stars for doing this. It's just for you and your understanding about where you're at with some of these dimensions of wellness. All right, so you got a score there. All right, and I've encouraged too in the past to maybe keep a notebook, and then you might see, as you continue to learn about wellness, as you continue to be mindful of these things, that you see your score go up. It's improving. So, it might be good just to have a journal or something that you hang on to as we continue to learn more and more about wellness. All right, I want to stop my screen here because I got another one to share with you here. Right here. Here we go. All right. We'll get back into it with some more, learning some more about wellness here. Wellness is a journey. It's a journey. So each day, just like recovery, we look at, and I like asking the question, just like with recovery, what am I doing today for my recovery, or what am I doing today for my wellness? I need to be mindful of what I'm doing each day for my wellness journey. Bob Dylan said this: "He who is not busy being born is busy dying." And so we can really see each day as a new day, but I can't live on, really what I did yesterday. It's got to be present today. My mind, my wellness, can be constantly shifting, and so I got to be mindful of what I'm doing each day for my wellness. He who's not busy being born is busy dying. You got this new day, and each day I believe it asks us, what are we going to do with it? It's a gift. The present is a gift. It's given to us, and we need to ask ourselves, what am I going to do today that it's going to really, boost my quality of life? And that's what wellness really is. It's this journey. Wellness is never a static state. You don't just get well or stay well. It can take work and effort to dig down deep and discover what our true needs are. What our true needs are. We live in a world of cause and effect. Cause and effect is what I do or don't do. It's got this cause and effect, and that really affects these 8 dimensions that we look at here with wellness. Wellness is not simply just the absence of disease. Often our emotional states can set the stage of physical disease. Did you know that? Emotional states like boredom and depression and anxiety, these emotional states often set the stage of physical disease through the lowering of the body's resistance. These same feelings can also lead to abuses like smoking and excessive alcohol or drug use and overeating. How many have seen that? As you get stressed and you're smoking more cigarettes because of it. This is emotional state, or you're bored, right? How many of you been there at a job, or and whether you're bored or whatever it is, or you're there at the house and you're bored and you just pick up cigarettes and just smoke them because you're bored, or some of these other abuses that wellness looks at. Feelings can lead to these abuses like smoking and excessive alcohol or drug use and overeating. But these symptoms and behaviors represent only the tip of the iceberg. They are the surface indicators of underlying human needs for such things as recognition from others. That's a need. We want to be recognized from others. We want to have this connection, these contacts. We want a stimulating environment. And so we get bored a lot of times because we're not stimulated or we're overstimulated, and we just want to rest. We have to be mindful of how much stimulation we need in a given day. That's a need that we have, a stimulating environment. Another need that we have is caring and affection from friends. Another need that we have is a sense of purpose and self acceptance. And so diseases and symptoms are not really the problems. They are actually the body, mind, spirit attempting to solve a problem. They are a message from the subconscious to the conscious. Much of contemporary medical practice is involved with chipping away at the surface needs. And so when you go to a hospital, they're looking at just the treatment. Maybe it's given medication, or if you cut your leg, maybe it's sewing it shut. Contemporary medical practice is involved with chipping away at surface needs. Its orientation is towards treating and eliminating the evidence of disease. And this is important, but it's not enough. We need to go further. It's essential to look below the surface signs to address the real needs. The real needs. What are the real needs that we have? And that's what we just looked at. That's be recognition from others, a stimulating environment, caring and affection from friends, a sense of purpose, and self acceptance. So wellness. When we look at wellness, it's not this contemporary medical orientation of just treating and eliminating the evidence of disease. No, wellness goes much further. Wellness extends the definition of health to encompass a process of integration characterized by awareness, education, and growth. So wellness really is this journey that we look at. Here you see this illness wellness continuum. And so either we're moving towards wellness or we're moving away from wellness. Wellness is a journey. Health is not the mere absence of illness, but a continual striving to live a life that is full, meaningful, zestful, and exuberant. It really is the quality of one's life. And so this high level wellness, you see that there on the right. It can be seen here on this illness wellness continuum. The wellness continuum that someone came up with, John W. Travis came up with, develops the positions of the field of wellness with an eventual goal of self-actualization. We've talked about that before in the past, about becoming your best self. And so this illness wellness continuum illustrates the relationship between the allopathic medical paradigm, which allopathic means a system of medical practice that aims to combat disease by use of remedies such as drugs or surgery. And so this illness wellness continuum illustrates the relationship between the allopathic medical paradigm or other symptom treatment system and the wellness paradigm, which is based on self-responsibility. And that's really what I want to leave us today is, we are responsible for our own wellness, that we have a role to play regarding our own health. And I think that's a good place for us to stop. And again, we can ask that question, what are we going to do today for our wellness? What are we going to do today for our recovery? That we have this responsibility. This is based on self-responsibility. And so if you've tuned in today, that's a part of what you did today for your own wellness is education. That can be under the dimension of intellectual wellness. Right? We paused. Uh, all those, like I said, are interdependent. Those are interconnected. Those dimensions. So, uh, I hope that you've are able to take away something from today, that you know a little bit more about wellness than what you've been before. And thanks again for tuning in. And I hope you have a good Wellness Wednesday. And like I said, there are more videos that we have uploaded on YouTube. Make sure you check those out and subscribe. And I believe this will really help as we move forward to understand what wellness is and how to apply it to our life. So hope you have a good Wellness Wednesday, and tune in next time. See you. Well.